This video will cover the topic graphing a line given its slope and y-intercept. First, let's review what the slope and y-intercept are of a line. The slope of a line is a number representing how much the y value changes with respect to the x value. When the equation of a line is in slope-intercept form, the slope is denoted by the letter m. Slope-intercept form is convenient to use when graphing a line because when we input a value for x into the equation, it will output the y value for the line at that certain value of x. The y-intercept of a line is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. The line crosses the y-axis when x is equal to 0. In slope-intercept form, the y-intercept is denoted by the letter b.
Okay, now that we know that, how do we begin to graph the line?
To begin to graph a line when given the slope and y-intercept, you must first organize the slope and y-intercept into the slope-intercept form equation. Then, you can find coordinate points of the line by substituting in certain x values into the equation to find their respective y values. Once you have your coordinate points, you can plot them on a graph and connect the points.
Okay, can we do an example problem?
Definitely. This question is asking us to graph a line with a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of -2. Let's begin by organizing the slope and y-intercept of our line into slope-intercept form.
How would we do this?
Well, first, it's important to remember that the variable m in the slope-intercept form equation stands for the slope of the line. So in this problem, m is equal to 3. And the variable b in the slope-intercept form equation is the y-intercept of the line. So in this problem, b is -2. Now that we have our values for m and b for our line, we can substitute them in to the slope-intercept form equation to get the equation for our line. Now we can begin to find the points for our line. A great way to organize the data when graphing a line is by organizing it in a table like this. This table's left column is where we put the x values we are choosing to plot. The middle column is for solving for the y value, and on the right is where we will be putting the coordinate points that we will be graphing. To graph a line effectively, we can choose 2 points to the right of the x-intercept to graph and 2 points to the left. Since the y-intercept occurs when x equals 0, the points we will be plotting will have x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now, we can begin to find the coordinate points for our line. Let's start with x equals -2. To find the value for y at x equals -2, we will substitute -2 in for x in our equation and solve it out. Solving this out, we get a value of -8. So the coordinate point on our graph would be -2, -8. Would you like to try the next one?
Sure. To find the point with an x value of -1, we can substitute -1 into the equation where x is present. Doing so, we will get an equation that looks like this. Solving that out, we get y equals -5. The point will be at -1, -5.
That's right. Solving the rest of the table out, you'll get the following coordinate points. Now that we have all of our points, we can insert them in our graph. Our first point is -2, -8, and we can graph this point by finding where it lies on the x-axis and then finding where it lies on the y-axis. The x value for this point is -2, so we will move 2 units to the left on the x-axis. The y value for this point is -8, so we will now move down 8 units on the y-axis. This point on our graph is the location for the coordinate -2, -8, so we will plot the point there. Would you like to try the next one?
Sure. Our next point is -1, -5. Because our x value is -1, we will move to the left 1 unit from the origin. From there, we will move down 5 units because the y value of our coordinate is -5. This point on our graph is the location for the coordinate -1, -5, so we will plot the point there.
That's exactly right. Following the same steps that we used before to plot the points, we can plot the remaining points for our line. Now that we have done so, we must remember to connect our points to show our line. And that's how you graph a line given the slope and y-intercept.
So just to make sure I'm getting this straight, to graph a line given its slope and y-intercept, we first begin by organizing the slope and the y-intercept into the slope-intercept form equation. Once that is done, we create a table to organize our information for our line. We then pick which x values we will be using to graph our line. Once we have that, we can solve for the respective y values by substituting the x values into the slope-intercept form equation. We can then organize the x and y values together to form a coordinate point. Once we have all the coordinate points, we can graph the points and then connect them.
That all sounded right. You've definitely mastered this topic.